I'd love to talk to you about the Rat Pack because I knew you worked very closely with them and Frank Sinatra. I was lucky enough to interview Frank Sinatra Jr. a couple of years ago, and I tried to get to the bottom of whether Frank Sinatra was a nice man. What is your thoughts on that?
Oh, what a question. I loved Frank. He was an eccentric. He could be very cruel, particularly to women. He lost his temper often. Some would say had the right to. It's too simple a question, is he a nice man? He was a friggin' genius when it came to music and I think, frankly, acting. Didn't like to rehearse because if he rehearsed and did it and it fell on its butt, somebody would say, well, he just didn't know how. Whereas if by not rehearsing, they would say, well, he didn't have enough rehearsal, he would have been good, that sort of thing. I found him endlessly deep. We talked about reincarnation. He believed in it. He had, let's say he believed in questioning that it might really be true. Don't forget, he went to the Pope near the end of his life and wanted to be whatever that is you get to be. He told me many times about how he would hear music and chords and different aspects of the vibration of music since he was very, very young. He was open to these metaphysical questions, never ridiculed this at all when he saw that I was into these sorts of things. Dean was all about humor. Dean was very ashamed of not having had an education. So Dean did not like to socialize around people who were tremendously educated, really had an inferiority complex about that. Joey Bishop was the man who put Dean and Frank away with his humor, just eloquently cynical. And Sammy Davis was the talented one. But to have to hang out with those guys and their talent and their sense of reckless fun, I don't think that will ever happen again because we live now in a world of fear. And they taught me so much about not constricting one's truth. Because they would say the truth right there on the stage. And that's why I think people are still fascinated. They know that and they knew it then. And they had, of course, I grew up around gangsters. They were all around. And they had their truth, too, their way of doing things, which, of course, you never crossed. I think the reason they were okay with me was I was not afraid of them. I didn't see any reason to be afraid. Now, again, you could say that's my naivete because God knows I knew what they were capable of. But I don't know, the guys with the pinky rings would always show up in my Vegas shows proud that I was not afraid of them. I don't know.
What about show business today? Is there a bit of a drought with personalities? There don't seem to be many characters around like you or the Rat Pack. It seems as if they're not creating them like they used to. Is that true?
I think this fear has permeated everybody's conduct. And I think they don't tell the truth. They don't say what they really feel. I mean, is that real or not? I'm not sure about that. I do think a sense of decorum is more prevailing now than it was in the past. Listen, we used to have the studios. The studios would take care of us. They would make sure the paparazzi were dealt with. They would make sure stories were killed, blah, blah, blah. Now everyone's on their own. And frankly, they're just completely motivated by profit, as well they should be to some extent. But what about the authenticity of your own character? And little by little, it comes out in the print media. You will hear Nicole telling more of the truth when she's interviewed by a print man or woman than she would on television. I think that's probably true. And I don't know that people are all upset about Tom Cruise because of Scientology. I think they're upset about his behavior patterns and all that. And they're not upset with John Travolta, who's a Scientologist, or Kirstie Alley, or there's a lot of them. Very nice people, by the way. And a lot of what L. Ron Hubbard was saying is something I agree with. A lot of it isn't. But when they came after me at one point to be a Scientologist, I found it very oppressive and had to tell them to frig off, which I did on a street corner in Santa Monica once, and they never bothered me again. But, they believe in reincarnation, as I do. But, believe in reincarnation. What does that mean? That means that you're actually saying your soul never dies, that you are on a soul journey through time. It is the cosmic justice. Believe in reincarnation. I hate that whole phrase. Let's ask, do you think we die when we leave the body? Do you think we die when we croak? What happens to us? Do we ever live again? Let's ask that question,